Welcome to the Complete Game Podcast, where we're all about baseball with Ethan Dungan, owner of Glovehound Baseball Glove Repair Shop, Rick Finley, founder of MD&I Baseball Academy, and the creator of George Foster Baseball, the MVP himself, Reds Hall of Famer George Foster. I'm your host, Greg Dungan. Now let's talk baseball. All right, well, welcome back. This is episode 23 on the Complete Game Podcast. And we're almost complete with the first season. So excited to have done that with you guys. It's been a good ride.
We're
looking forward to it. Today we're going to finish part 3 of our defensive directives. It was supposed to be part 2, but we had to break part 1 into 2. So
that's all right.
We're into part 3. So there you go.
Extra innings.
So today we're going to talk about getting outs with defense. We spent a couple episodes talking about getting outs with pitching. And now we're going to talk about getting outs with defense. We're going to talk a lot to coaches today, but also to players to kind of know maybe even what to ask your coach or what to encourage your coach to practice, or what to practice on your own to be ready for challenging game situations. So today we're going to dive in. First thing I'm going to do is I did a little research and ask AI, a couple of AI setups, what statistically the defensive plays that resulted in the most errors in youth baseball.
Yeah, I like this because George said a couple episodes ago that the team that wins is the one that makes the fewest mistakes.
They are.
And so I think we're going to get into some opportunities where defense can maybe get an extra out, but the most important thing is just not screwing up the easy ones and not giving the other team more than 3 outs in the inning.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that for years. I mean, when you would go and play in tournaments, it would almost always be the team that was most fundamentally sound that didn't make a lot of errors.
Mistakes, yeah.
They were the ones who usually came out on top. So I'm going to list these off, and then we're going to kind of talk about them briefly, and then we'll move on to strategies for handling things like this down the line. So, all right. So the 5 situations. Number 1 was infield ground balls and throws across the diamond. So the idea that if you can create the play, if you're on offense, you can create the play on the left-hand side of the diamond instead of the right. You make that cross diamond throw, that gives the opportunity for errors, especially the younger you are, the more likely that throw is likely to sail or go into dirt or, go Lord knows anywhere. Also, you're more right-handed hitters. So there's statistically more of those that are going to happen. Yeah. And those are guys who are pulling the ball. So there may be maybe a little more zip on them when they do that. So your thoughts on infield ground balls, and other than those factors, why that breeds a lot of mistakes?
Yeah. For me, I think one of the big things I see is just players rushing too much. Especially your third baseman, because that's a long throw. I mean, same thing as a catcher trying to throw a guy out at second. So you just don't have as much time, but not trying to throw the ball before they field it cleanly. And then if they do field it cleanly, thinking that they have to throw it harder or rush the throw more than they need to, rather than letting the velocity take care of it. And also bad footwork. So trying to stand still with concrete shoes. Yeah, and then make the throw rather than let your momentum help you. And that was something that I was really bad about. I had lead feet. I just couldn't move. I had a good arm, though, but oftentimes I wouldn't set my feet or use my momentum. And so I'm throwing with my weight shifting backwards, and it makes for an errant throw. And then another one that I think gets really overlooked is the tail on the throw, because a lot of times, especially for me, that ball would tail arm side because maybe I didn't have – it was the finger orientation. So it's going to spin kind of opposite of where your fingers finish, if that makes sense. So if you're very true up and down, you're going to get a nice backspin. But my hand tended to be a little more cocked to the side, and so when my fingers come off like this, it would push the ball that way. And so had I had a mind towards aiming – or trying to get that throw a little bit more to the left side of the bag, let it come back, I think I probably could have saved a few more runs. But
a thought along those lines, George, you've mentioned several times making throws in from the outfield, making sure you're throwing 4-seamers instead of
Right.
2-seamers. Does that apply in this case as well?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
Well,
it
that's
do.
especially when you're talking about rushing the ball. You're not gripping the ball in the right or correct spot, and so you just get the ball and just throw it. So now your ball's moving more to first base than if your pitcher's throwing home plate. But it's making sure you have a good grip, have the four-seamer, and practice that.
Yeah.
You know, that's how just sitting in the dugout or driving in the car, just fielding the ball and get to the four-seamer.
Yeah, I think the biggest rule for this one is I love the was it smooth is fast? What is it, Rick?
Smooth is fast, and fast. I forget the name.
No.
I forgot.
Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. That's what it is. That's what it is. But yeah, if I just slowing down and letting the velocity and the fundamentals work for you rather than just trying to muscle it over there.
Well, I'm taking note of the fact that when guys who are playing short and third in the bigs, when they throw, that ball never gets there till like right in the last second.
The other thing,
they're not throwing a guy out by 20 steps.
And I will say that ball doesn't come across the diamond as fast as I thought it did. Sometimes they're throwing high 70s to right around the 80s. For whatever reason, my mind just, they must be throwing 90. That's not always the case. Sometimes it is, and if it's if they have to, but they're just better at the fundamentals and knowing the runner.
Quick release.
And so
Yes.
it's a quick release for sure.
And a lot of it is reading hops,
Right.
and you field with your feet, so your feet's got to be in the right
Sure.
in the right position to field, and just getting a lot of ground ball work from your glove side to the backhand side, and staying on top of the ball when you throw, like George says. Then there's 3 types of different throwing angles. You got your do or die, you got your natural here, and you got your 3/4 here. So practicing all 3 types of throwing.
knowing the difference.
Yes, and knowing the difference and what George said, the 4-seam and stuff. What I used to do, I still do it now, throw it up in the air, and I catch it like that.
There
And
you
every
go.
time, your fingers are always feel that where that horseshoe is at, where he's on top of the horseshoe.
I think that's a really good point that you talk about practicing those different plays. Just taking routine ground balls doesn't get you a feel for those tough plays and how to make those.
Yes.
So the importance of practicing those harder plays. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and the role that the transfer plays
Right.
in this as well.
Right.
We haven't really mentioned that yet,
Yes.
but you do have that transfer going on at the same time.
Yeah, and you can't throw it till you field it cleanly. That's the biggest
Yes,
thing.
there you go.
Just like in football, you can't take off running until you catch it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
Same
this is one of
same
those
exact thing.
Okay, second one was force plays with runners on base.
Now that's the one with your transfer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then there's one where you're talking the number of times that I don't know. I've seen teams you take infield, but there's never any runner on. The coach will say, okay, well there's a runner on third. Now let's get 2.
Imaginary.
Well, you're not
Yes.
getting 2 if you're not getting a guy. So, there's difference between I'm going to get 2 and there's nobody coming at me. And like when I was watching Game 7 of the 75 World Series on YouTube last night, and you try and get 2 with Pete Rose barreling in on you at second base, now that's a whole different
Make sure your
ballgame.
life insurance is paid up.
Dude, he came in for blood too,
Oh,
man. I mean,
that's the way it was.
Yes.
So putting that runner on base and making that happen.
Yeah, you don't get that sense of urgency otherwise, and so you don't get that feel for the game scenario.
And one of the things we're going to see with all of these things is that it's the pressure that really increases the opportunity for error and mistake. It's one thing if there's no pressure on you, but when you got to put that pressure on yourself in practice to really feel that game situation, I think.
But you got to have as a shortstop or second baseman having a lane. You're knowing who's coming down down to second base. So if you're going to catch the ball inside or outside. But sometimes, like Ozzie Smith, because he can jump, it would go down the middle. But a lot of guys, they let them know right away, this is on the major league level. They throw down below. If you don't get down,
Boom, you're going to get hit in the head.
you'll get hit. But the key, though, in the force play or double play is get the first out.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're thinking
First
too
out.
much about getting a double play. You end up dropping the ball or missing the bag. Make sure of one.
Yeah. Well, and that was, you talk about trying to put your throw in a certain spot. That was something that I never really had anybody talk about until I got to high school and playing from third base. For whatever reason, I really struggle with that drop step, with the drop step throw to
Yes,
second.
yes.
And it's got to be in
okay.
his chest, or he's not
Open
going to.
up.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to turn it.
Yeah.
Or you start aiming the ball because you're going to aim higher than where you want to throw. If you're aiming at the chest, you're going to be lower. So aim at the forehead.
One of
that's a
the
great
things too that you were saying is, as a second baseman, if you're a third base, you got to understand your footwork. So if
Yeah.
I, when you practice enough, you'll understand where that second baseman want that ball at.
Yeah.
Because now, like George was saying, back then they could slide in and take you out. Now you can't do that. You got to stay in the lane. You got to stay in the base
path.
lane.
Yeah.
And then you can work. You can come inside the baseline to make that throw and step across. We used to be able to hop over to run, like George was saying, or you could step back and make it. And so,
The step back was a safe one.
yes,
The other place I see this runners causing that chaos is not knowing the order in which to get the force out. So I see it a lot, especially ball hit to first base. If the first baseman tags the base, then you got to tag the runner.
Yes.
So that's a big one, and not having the awareness to know if you need to put the tag down.
and also knowing if you got a lefty or a right-handed first baseman, because now you got to figure out, okay, if he's left-handed and he makes the tag, guess what? You're going to stay inside the baseline a little bit because his ball, he's left-handed. So when he turns, the ball is here. It's easier for you to get versus a righty versus a right-hander, depending on how that runner is. You can either go outside or inside, but you got to
Talk.
let
You
them
gotta
know.
communicate.
Yes, tag.
Yeah.
But even the throw to first base, the first base, you got to know, okay, because a lot of guys see a right-hander and the ball's coming between, say, the mound and home plate. You don't put your right foot on the bag, you put your left foot, so you have a better target. But a lot of times they're not. And then a high throw, you can catch it and get off the bag, but they try to jump up and catch it, end up not getting down soon enough for the bag. Or I've seen guys would get hit, or pulls, a throw inside, learn how to tag the guy and get out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah. The other one is when you have to look a runner back, either not doing that and giving the guy a free base, or doing that and maybe he's messing with you, and then you don't know what to do, and then you can't decide if you want to throw it or not. So trying to navigate that situation as well. And then also when you have more than one runner on, and maybe you've got a guy on, maybe you got a runner going to second and less than 2 outs, and you know you don't have a chance. Maybe maybe you're playing third base, ball's too short, and you're going to go ahead and get the guy at first, and then leaving third base wide open. So not finishing the play because you've got more than just the batter going on. So having that awareness to then circle back, or having maybe
The shortstop.
the
cover
shortstop.
pitcher, somebody having the awareness to be there so that you're not giving up free
the teamwork.
bases.
You know,
And
where
those
to
are
be.
things that has to get practice on all the time. That is missing, I believe.
Yeah, and if you go back and watch, that was one thing about watching Pete Rose play third base, is he was so fundamentally on top of everything. Like, he never forgot to look back a runner
Right.
and before he'd make a throw somewhere. It was just, and sometimes he'd get the ball and he would just windmill, just make a big old fake throw just to see if the guy would step off of it and nail it.
That's
Right.
He was just crazy like that. But knowing where you got to go to do that, you made a good point. In a double play, if you make a good effort at a double play and you only get one of them, you got an out. You did all right.
Right.
If you make an effort at a double play and you don't get either one of them, then that's bad.
Yeah.
I think too is kids need, again, going back to almost like playing chess, man. Know what you're going to do before the ball is hit to you.
Anticipation.
Yes.
And I think that goes back to also knowing what the guy did the last time he
Previous.
was up. And which I thought of something the other day. that if I were coaching a young team, how would I teach kids to do that? And I think one of the ways that you could do that would be to have each kid pick the other team, the person on the other team that plays his position.
Oh.
And he is responsible for knowing what that guy did last time.
go.
That's how you
You
compete.
track that guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then before every at bat, you're the one that needs to yell out what that guy did last
Very
time.
good.
Not only
Yeah,
does
that's-
that encourage talking and encourages people to actually be vocal on the
Yes.
field,
Involved.
but it
Yeah.
makes each kid in charge of one thing rather than 9 things.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to keep track of that.
And if you're roster batting, then that gives something for the guys that aren't playing the field
Yes,
to do.
yeah,
Big
exactly. That's funny you say that. I made a huge mistake on one of my things, man. And so I had these 2 kids. One was injured, the other. So I gave a sign for a certain situation, and they passed it on this. So one of the kids said, "Hey, coach, that wasn't right one for me." I'm like, "Really?" Like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I gave him a fist bump. Say thank
Just
you.
testing.
Well, and it also creates a little
thank you.
accountability and a little peer pressure too,
Yes.
because you're going, the rest of your team is counting on you to shout out what this guy did. So don't get out there and forget to do that. Like that's part of your job.
Yeah, I
and
like
so otherwise you get out there and somebody's up and I'm somewhere else in the field. I'm going, what'd he do?
Right.
What'd he do? Who is it? You know, so, and it lets everybody know real quick who was in charge of saying that, because he's the left fielder and you're the left fielder. So what did he do last time? Anyway, it was just a thought.
One last thing on infield errors is sailing the ball. So you can always, if you keep the ball down low, you always give the first baseman a chance to pick it. He can always go down, but he can't always go up.
Yeah.
So there's a limit to how high he can jump, and there's no limit to how much he can get down. So, and you see a lot of guys now, even more when you had turf fields, utilizing the bounce throw.
Yes.
That still comes into play. Easier for that guy to block it up, even if he has to come off the bag, than if it sails out of play and
Well,
the guy gets a free base.
And he can pick it with his foot on the base. He can't jump with his foot on the base.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And that's why they should every time work on short hop drills, man.
Yeah.
All the time on different surfaces.
But a coach must know, you don't have to have the strongest arm to play short, but being able to get rid of the ball. A lot of times the guy who has the strongest arm, taking too much time. And trying to, I guess, impress everybody how hard he can throw. But and then making sure, I always make sure that the guys are in the right position in every situation. The shortstop sometimes may play too deep. Learning how, and then you talk about footwork. How do you get the ball in the hole? I mean, between short and third, how do you get the ball going to second? So footwork is very important, but how do you learn it? By practicing it.
Yes, sir.
So you finished the season last year, exhausted from all the travel and the tournaments, and you tossed your gear in a bag where it's been sitting all winter. Now you're ready for another year, but your favorite glove that fits just right is an error waiting to happen. The leather's dry, the laces are brittle, and this year you're on a new team with new colors, and it sure would be cool if it matched. Well, wouldn't it be great if you had a glove guy who could help you out with that? You do. His name is Ethan, and he owns Glovehound Baseball Glove Repair Shop in Fairfield, Ohio. Just contact him at glovehound.com and upload pictures of your glove. He'll give you a call back to talk it over, and then you can send it in for a repair, relace, recondition, whatever you need. If you're in the area, you can even just stop by the shop. That way you don't have to bother with shipping, and a lot of times he can even fix it while you wait. Rawlings, Wilson, Mizuno, All-Star, Nakona, he's seen them all, and he's helped players at all levels, from beginners to pros. Last year he worked on a glove that Jose Trevino used in the World Series, and he can help you too. You can find Glovehound on Google, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at glovehound.com. You're only going to get busier, so reach out today and give your glove the love it deserves at Glovehound. The next one was the ever treacherous pitcher covers first.
PFP.
That happened in the World Series. What Cole was telling the first baseman, you got it.
Yes.
But that was one that we didn't practice specifically until we got to high school. I didn't even know that was a thing.
All the time.
But I think one of the
11.
One of the big deals with that, other than communication as to who covers, but when the pitcher is supposed to field it, just rushing too much.
Be there. You got to be there.
You got to be there, man.
But,
And there's a certain angle too that you take.
the banana as you cover the
Banana,
base and all that. But when the pitcher fields it, the tendency to just freak out and launch it over the first baseman. I mean, I see that all
That's
the
one
time.
where I got to give some credit to Nick Martinez. You talk, the guy is just cool as a cucumber when it comes to fielding defensively. Does a good job getting it over to first, even if he has to catch it behind his back.
That's why sometimes I think it's funny. I feel like sometimes you see pitchers make that really athletic play on the ball hit to the third base side. And yet that dribbler to the first base side, when they have more time, that's when they mess it up. And I wonder if it has to do with the amount of time you have, because when the ball's hit to the third base side, you don't have time to set. You just have to field it and throw. But on the first base side, you have that time, and so it's like it throws off your rhythm, and so that's when you have to pause, and then I don't know, maybe
That's all about timing.
Yes. And now what they're getting pitchers to do, either if you got enough time,
is the underhand,
underhand it over, get as close there, and that's
and be
easier.
able to start moving towards the base, use your momentum with the underhand.
Yes.
But there was a play, I forget what team, but they blamed the guy who threw the ball and not the guy who was covering the bag. So the guy who was covering the bag, he was at fault because he was on the bag too soon. So time the throw, he would have been the throw ended up being behind the pitcher.
Yeah.
That was
I've
the
seen
Dodgers.
that game. Yes,
it was the Reds. Sal Stewart did that.
Oh, okay.
So they
I've
blamed
seen
it
it
on
twice.
him. But Martinez, he was on the bag instead of waiting for the ball.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
like
So-
as any other, like you setting up like a regular play,
Right.
Just sit there.
Right.
Yes.
The one I saw last night when I was watching that game from the World Series, ball goes deep behind first base. Perez goes back to get it. Now he's coming at the base. Now the pitcher's going over there to do his job. Gullett's running over there to cover. But Doggy's got a full head of steam, and he is coming to that base. So you got to know when you're going to be out of that way, because otherwise you're going to get run over, because he has already decided in his head he is coming back to make that play. He's not going to throw it to
But
you.
you know your route, same as when you after the catch the ball, being a pitcher, go inside, and someone go right down the middle and get ran over by the runner.
Yeah.
And then also talk about that's the time for your right fielder to be moving inwards, just preparing for the
There's
worst.
a place you gotta be.
Yes, sir.
So the next one was plays involving complicated mechanics. We're talking hardliners, bad hops, fly balls to the fence, fly balls in the corner, things that involve complicated mechanics.
Drop step on the bad hops.
I was gonna say, what's your
drop step? You're learning how to drop step either to your glove side or
Okay.
especially in between hops. In between hops, those ones are going to eat
But
you
this
up.
is more of a. I know we talk about physical error, but this is more of a mental error, and I know it's been taught though. You know, they're catching the ball on their glove side compared to the throwing side. So
right.
it's going to take longer to get the ball and throw. So I watch guys, if they catch the ball on their glove side, I'm trying to get an edge by advancing. But if you catch it on your throwing side, then they have a better chance. But a lot of guys, say a right-hander, instead of stepping behind your left foot to throw, they're stepping parallel to it. So they're not really making much progress.
No.
So the footwork, wherever you go, is very important.
Yeah, and something else because I didn't play much infield coming up, I mainly caught and pitched. Learning the infield was an adjustment, and I had a hard time picking my hop because we were taught you either take the long one or you come up and get that short one, because it took me a while to realize why, but when that ball bounces, if your glove's right there, it doesn't matter where it bounces, your glove's right there, no big deal. But I had a tendency of letting the ball play me rather than playing the ball.
Yes. And also, too, for you as a third baseman, being able to get that ball in the hole, the 5.5 hole, being able to cut that off before a shortstop be able to get there, because sometimes it might be too deep. Yes.
Yeah, because if you're able to grab that, it keeps the shortstop from making a throw 20 feet longer, even if he can't get to it.
It becomes, are you going to shuffle over there or are you going to cross over?
Yes.
Sometimes shuffling gets you there and now you're in position, but if you cross over, then the ball take a bad hop, it's on top of you.
And then would you also say that staying low is important to be able to work under the ball?
The hops.
Yeah.
can read the hops a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go do the hop, baby.
Well, and would you say, George, the decision that you have to make in the outfield as to whether you're gonna charge it and go for it or whether you're gonna play the hop?
Depends on the score, the inning, the runner,
Surface.
the surface. Oh yeah, you're
Yes.
playing on an AstroTurf. You know that when that ball, if you don't catch it in the air, it's gonna bounce. You're gonna be more defensive. I mean defensive, so that you can keep the batter runner at second base or at first base. But you don't want that ball to bounce over your head. And then if the turf is not only turf, but if it's wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The best play I think I ever made really started to hit one hopper to me, and the ball was taking a spin towards down the line. So I had my glove out there to catch the ball, and the ball went into my bare hand. But everybody said, "Wow, that's a great play." It's a great play. I was like, I don't know what happened here.
That's funny. What George was saying about being wet, outfielders need to do two things. Check the elements. If you're on grass, we always told our outfielders, pull up some grass,
Right.
see where the wind is blowing. That's one. Check out if it's wet or if it's bouncy. You know, you got a lot of heels, a lot of divots out there, man. The ball's going to do certain different things.
Especially in those early games or those night games
early
when
games
the dew sets in.
Yes.
Because there were various ways to catch a ground ball in the outfield, and
Yes.
and say the field is uneven, and you want to make sure that ball stays in front of you. You're gonna get down on your glove
Yes.
side knee to
Yes.
block it, and you got to know when to play it safe and being aggressive out there. And back we're talking about the AstroTurf in Houston. They had zippers on the field where they zipped up the turf because they would take it up for football and put it back down for baseball. So that ball is serpentining as it's going at you, and you think you're going straight at it, but no, it's has a mind of its own.
Well, and the other thing is the idea that early in the season, late in the season. So, early in the season when they've had all the time to get the field ready and it's nice and green, it's lush and thick and all that. And then by the end of the season, when half of it's dirt and it's not quite so
Right,
not quite
but-
in such good
But
shape anymore.
for every game, before every game, I would go out there and take ground balls, fly balls, and just to rehearse what I need to do. Especially seeing the surface of the field. If it's hello, like in Atlanta, it's always hard from the Falcons playing on that field, so it's hard. It's harder than AstroTurf. And then seeing how the ball, like in Boston, Fenway, the ball bounces off the wall.
Yeah.
Because it's different material.
Yes.
You have the hard surface, then you have a soft surface. Some are going to come straight back, and some are going to go straight down. So you got to go out there and get yourself prepared for a game
Or
situation.
you could be in Chicago where the wall just eats it.
Oh, I'm not going into that ivy. I don't know who's in that ivy.
What about Candlestick?
Candlestick.
Did you like Candlestick?
You have to be careful with the wind. You never
Yes.
that wind is swirling out there, and I've known that balls that are hit, actually over the fence, the wind blows it back in. The shortstop end up catching it. So you got to never plant your feet. In Chicago or Candlestick, never plant your feet. You're always moving, always on the move because you never know how that ball is going to react.
So yeah, the other thing I thought about is making that judgment of, so let's say you're doing well, you went back so that your first step is forward. When you're in the outfield, you're back far enough, okay, but then you take a few steps forward, and then there's that moment where it's like, oh goodness, that's going over my head, and you got to make that snap decision to turn around and track it and go the other way. Thoughts on the decision-making process, being prepared to do that?
Well, it takes place before it even happens.
Yeah.
A left-handed hitter, you know, is going to hook more times than not, going to go towards the line.
Yeah.
Left, right. So a right hand, I've seen guys, a left-hander hits the ball and they're breaking towards center field. Then now they have to regroup. But I tell them even if you make a mistake in which side to go, make sure you play it off your front shoulder. Whatever
Yeah,
shoulder's in front, play it off that shoulder. And as you're going back, you're doing a crossover step. so that you're in balance. Some of these guys run back and they don't have a bearing on where the ball is. And so the ball ended up bouncing off the wall, and the player is jumping to one side and the ball's on the other side. So he had misjudged the ball. Everybody said, wow, that was a great try. Great try. He needed GPS out there, but and then it starts in batting practice.
Yes.
Have the coach hit the ball down the line. How are you going to react?
Yeah.
You may make the catch, but you want to be able to make a catch in a position to keep the runner from advancing.
Yeah.
And again, knowing what the game situation is, where are the runners, how many outs, where does this ball need to go when it gets my hand?
Yeah, another thing, talk about learning spin. That was big for me, learning to play third base, trying to catch that foul ball pop fly, because the way that it backspins, it's going to come back into play. So I know that I can turn my back and let it come into me rather than chasing the spin. Same thing with pop-ups when you're playing catcher. You turn your back to the infield because you know that he hit the bottom of it and it's spinning like this and it's going to tail back into play. So rather than just, you lose your bearing, being able to have that knowledge to set up better just really sets you up for success a lot better.
And also talking about catching, you got talking with your mechanics. Now you're dealing with gear on top of your fundamentals. So get that helmet off when you're going after that thing. Get the helmet off
my
your
catcher.
head.
He threw his mask and he misjudged where the ball was, and he ended up stepping in his mask and falling.
He didn't know. He didn't throw his mask far enough away.
Or he should have kept it on. Kept it in his hand before he right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just something I had to go over with Ethan when he first started catching, because he was a young guy. You were probably 7 or 8 years old, and you start catching back there, and we don't have those two-piece get-ups anymore like when I was a kid. You don't have the batting helmet with the mask. So you've got that whole cotton-picking stormtrooper thing you got to get off your head. Yeah. And so you have to practice that. You have to practice that flipping on and off of there. Dads, make sure that gear is set up to stretch in the right spot and move in the right spot so that they can flip that off and get it off of there. That's a big deal. The other thing is practice doing that with your gear on, because you can practice taking fly balls and whatever, but it isn't the same unless you got to go out there, spin around, find it, all that with all that stuff on your body. That's important. And catchers, you're the guy who they've just taken 20 minutes of practice and he's like, oh, here's one for the catcher. You get one at the end. You don't really. So you're going to have to practice that on your own. And do that.
And having your gear on, practicing running to back up first base.
Oh, yeah.
But it's an angle it had to go. You don't want to go straight down the base path, but it had an angle.
Sure.
One of the things I want to add to the outfield plays is I just posted on my MD&I Facebook page that Mookie Betts was going out, center fielder was coming in. And you can tell that as soon as the center fielder, as a shortstop, you're taught go get everything. Center fielder until someone calls you off. So he went out. Center fielder is coming in. Guess what? They communicated just the way that Mookie retreated, got out the way.
And plus, he's an former outfielder.
And you're a former outfielder. He communicated, mama, whatever it is, and just doing that a lot. I think Ethan brung up third base.
Yeah.
A lot of things that requires, you said bad hops, fly balls, feeling for the fence at third base. You going to the wall, feeling for it, man. That a lot of kids don't communicate. They'll sit there, watch a kid run right.
No, but they don't talk. The coach don't.
How to feel.
You got to practice it.
Yes.
And how many times are you going to call for it? So that, because in a stadium with a lot of people and it's noisy, you're not going to say, I got it, and that's it. You got to talk about it. But the outfielders are in charge.
About this, yes.
So the guy who's coming in is in charge. And don't let the infielder going back to get the ball.
Well, I say one of the things that alludes to is deferring to who has the better angle, who can make the better throw. So one thing we were always taught at third base is that you eat up everything to your glove side because your momentum is taking you towards first base rather than letting the shortstop have to stop and then make the throw. So same thing with those in-between balls. Outfielders have to be aggressive on those because you've got a way better chance of making a throw than an infielder who has to stop, pivot, and find his bearing.
But coaches have to, or even parents have to. You got to go out there on the field and work on those things. Also, wanted to bring up when George playing, I'm sure at Riverfront, you had the warning track that had gravel, didn't
Right.
it? Yeah, so you knew when you was getting close to that wall then, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
those walls are put up to keep us in, not to run through. No, but when Greg was talking about, or one of you said putting your hand there, but I remember in AAA, you didn't want to put your hand on the wall because you didn't know you'd find a hole in the wall. Those fences weren't really good material. You don't know what's back there.
Well, and this is another opportunity for young players. If you're listening to this, be the guy who's loud. Be the guy who talks. Be the guy who says your coach will love you for it, as long as you also do your homework and you're not out there shouting nonsense.
But even if you shout the wrong thing, at least you knowing the coach knowing that where his mindset is.
But the biggest thing is kids are intimidated to make noise out there because everybody's watching, mom, dad watching, everybody's watching, and nobody wants to be wrong.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be wrong and be loud about it.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that I remember when I was in college, we all had to be part of an ensemble in the trumpet studio, and there was like eight trumpet players standing there. We're all playing together, and our director would say, "If you're going to make a mistake, make it loudly so we can find it and fix it."
Right.
Like
Right
don't make quiet mistakes, man. That ain't cool.
Right.
So if you're going to go out
way.
there and talk, be loud about it. And it also gives your teammates permission because they see you do it, and now they don't feel so weird about being loud about it.
Yes.
But somebody's got to be the one who's out there jabbering, who's out there talking, who's out there getting the communication happening. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. And when it doesn't happen, you start to break down on the field, and there's less teamwork and more individual, and that's when we lead to a lot of these mistakes.
I always tell the guys, it's not a library. You can talk.
Yes.
Now, the last one we have is outfield throws and plays that require backing up. Let's talk about that.
I think the place I see the most errors with this one is usually the pitcher not knowing what to do. Especially, it's his job to back up third because he's going to be the closest one there. His job to back up home. Any other situations?
But make sure you back up. Don't be right behind the player.
Or if you got caught in between and don't know, then in the middle and kind of track where the ball is going. That kind of helps you a little bit too. If you not
well, initially the pitcher should be between third and home.
So
you get a chance, and then finding out which runner they're going to make the play on.
There you go.
I like that.
I think the other one is the cutoff. You want to cut off to your glove side.
To your glove side.
You want to turn to your glove side as the ball's thrown, but sometimes they turn into your throwing side, and now you're off track.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're stuck.
Right.
They're here.
Well, and this comes
parallel. There's no momentum.
And then when there's a double cut, you know if the ball's going to bounce to you, let it go.
Let it go.
It's because you have a backup there. But I had seen that once again. Saw the Reds do that. But you want Dela Cruz out there. You should know your outfield's arm.
Yep.
Know their arm.
Do you want the stronger arm first or second in line for the cutoff?
It all depends.
Yeah, it depends. I like the first with the Reds because Dela Cruz he doesn't really need the second guy, but you don't wait for the ball also. Mm-hmm. But you have Lux out there, you got to go out there and get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't wait.
And I think that certain managers or coaches, they have their own philosophies on that, so I don't really get into that. As long as they do it correctly.
Yeah, I'm sure the default would probably be depends on which side of the bag the ball is hit to. But if you've got a drastic arm strength difference, you can overcome that, and maybe a ball hit in the
corner, right field corner. Right, because Dave Concepcion with us, he would go out.
Yeah,
and Joe would be
at
the second guy.
Yeah, and one thing I wish I saw more was double cuts implemented at a younger level. I think it's
the line drill. Do the line drill.
Yeah, I love the line drill.
That
I love the line drill.
I've got some pictures of me doing a line drill with our MD&I, but I've done that a lot. We always ran double cuts, and I think we did that. We started doing that at 12. Because
It's like a
sometimes
game.
we
It's
play
like a
that
game to the
13.
kids.
Yes,
Yeah.
But
it
you
is.
got to
It's
implement
fun.
that in your practice.
You sure do.
But that's especially with, I think it's because people look at it as just more of an advanced thing. But when you don't have a strong arm, you don't have any shot at making a play from the cutoff to anywhere in the infield. And I like I've always liked the idea of sending both of your, especially if, I would say, especially on a ball hit to the outfield where you're guaranteed that the runner is going to go to second,
Right.
and you're trying to make a play at third or home. Send both of your middle infielders out there and let your first baseman follow the runner to second base. There's no play to happen there. So I've always thought that was a more efficient use of your fielders to try to do that.
Yes, yeah, and make sure your first baseman makes sure that the runner touches first.
There
That's
you go.
the first one.
That's the first
And
thing.
they'll not only touch first, make sure you're standing inside.
Yes, so
Because
you don't
you
get
got to be
ran
called
over.
for obstruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Another spot where you can gain outs is when you're cutting to home, and your catcher is supposed to let on a ball hit to the right side. It's your first baseman's going to usually take that
gonna
cut
take
coming
that
to home.
cut.
That's
Yes.
another.
Yes.
Center to left field. It's usually your third baseman's going to receive that, and it's the catcher's job to line them up
Yes,
and to tell that guy whether or not to cut. And if he cuts, that guy needs to have or to let it go.
Yeah.
That guy needs to have the awareness to pay attention to those runners and know if he can
Exactly.
kind of salvage the play by getting an out.
So yeah, and also your the other players in the infield, they should be able to let you know, hey, cut and go 3. Then if you know
Right.
that kid is not that player, you're not going to get that play. You know, if you're able to do that before the run scores, then
You're able to kind of steal an out there.
yes,
Yeah, you want to be informative, but very succinct in what you're saying, because you don't want to
Yes.
have. You're just saying cut. If you don't say cut, you know when letting it go. You don't
or cut
say
and
anything.
hold.
Cut and hold.
Yes,
But you don't need to have to say let it go.
Yeah.
Just-
yeah.
George, let's talk about outfielders and backing up. I know a lot of times you get young players and they get put in the outfield and they think, well, there's nothing for me to do unless somebody hits a ball to me, and that's just not the case.
No, it's like Rick had said before, you're the last line of defense, and wherever the play is, you got to back up. And I had a great time, been in left field and been in great shape. The ball's hit down the right field line. I knew right away, don't wait right away. I'm backing up third base.
Yes,
And the
sir.
third base coach does not see me there. So once the ball get past third base, his first saying is go. And by the time he said go, he wanted to say no, because I'm right behind him getting that play. And there are countless times I have thrown a guy, we made an out at home play because the guy, they got greedy and they want to go. But if nobody's there, now the guy's going to score.
Right.
But like I say, there's a place that you need to go. You got left fielder got to back up, center or right fielder you got to back one another up. And you got to talk out there.
Yes.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
back to practicing before a game. We talk about how the ball's going to come off the wall. So now when the ball's hit, you guys don't go too far in, because you know that you're already giving them a single, but you don't want to give them a triple.
Yeah.
So you go too far in, that ball bounces over your head. And I've seen in Fenway, the ball hit in that corner, and the center fielder had to chase it because the left fielder's not coming over. You know right away that ball, you're going to have problems on how that ball is going to come off the wall. So there's a place that you need to go, and everybody has a place to go.
I want to follow up on what George was saying. You know, in youth and select, and you could probably circle back around. And I go to a couple games, and there's no coach in the dugout that handles the outfield. So my coaching staff and even the coaching staff, we knew who we assigned a coach to handle. Okay, you've got pitchers and catchers. You've got the infield, you got the outfield. Okay, I've been to games where that, man, who's got the outfielders, man?
They're on their own.
Position. Oh, man. So that's another thing too. The coaches that's in there know your role within the coach, and that the head coach gotta let everyone know their role, and then those guys kind of work with those outfielders.
I think that's a really good point, because especially the younger you are, the more likely you are to have unqualified dad coaches, maybe.
Yes.
But
Just say dad coaches.
but you don't have to be an expert to have the responsibility of positioning them. You know what I mean? Just by designated someone to have the responsibility of paying extra close attention to them keeps the man. How would I say that? It just puts more attention on it, and it keeps them from getting forgotten about, I guess, if that makes sense. So even if they're not an expert, it's just one less thing for the head coach to have to try to keep everything in mind, and it's one more guy to give that one-on-one work with.
It also gives you the opportunity to teach them the importance of knowing what the hitter did last time.
Yeah.
So,
too.
Right.
Because
that's
there's nothing for
have.
that coach to do until he knows what hit last time, and that's what tells you where we're going to position them. If you're just sort of evenly spacing them, that's not getting you anywhere. You gotta position them according to what the hitter did.
But that doesn't necessarily take years and years of experience.
Oh, no.
That's something you can learn.
Sure, yes.
Which is awesome.
So the other thing I was thinking about, as we've gone through these 5 things here, what we've brought up are a few common issues. Successful teams communicate. Right. They absolutely do. Yes, they do not stand on the field in silence. They talk constantly. They tell each other things. They communicate with each other while the game is going on. If your team is not doing that, you are
like
missing
the catcher. Catcher goes out there to how many outs or what play to make or things, and then they give signs on who's covering where. Things
we'll do a first and third sign. So one of the things, and I've got all this written down, but one of the things that we did with our catchers, that you've got here, so this would be home, this would be first, this would be second, this would be third. That's how we would do it. So we'll go home, first, second, third, and then our signs will go, our catchers will throw our signs through there. So if we want, we got a first and third play, and we want our second or shortstop to cover, then we'll have that. Or to cut the throw off, we have that.
Right.
Yeah, successful teams communicate. They absolutely do. And your team needs to communicate. So if you're on the field and nobody's talking, man, that should be a red flag going off in your brain that your team is not communicating. This is a problem, and you need to do that. The other thing is successful teams think ahead. Absolutely think ahead. You're asking yourself, what do I do if this happens? What do I do if that happens? What do I do? Okay.
And that can change pitch to pitch, not just batter to batter.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because what the count is, whether he's looking middle in, whether he's looking middle away, whether he's
what he's done that previous pitch.
Yeah, you got a hitter's count. You got a guy who's now doesn't have one. Yeah. He's protecting the plate or he's being aggressive out there. If he's likely to be a first pitch swinger, these kinds of things all going on. If his stance is closed, if his stance is open, if he's changed, if he's a switch hitter and he's on the other side now because you put in a different pitcher. Now, what does that mean? So these kinds of things are all things to think about. But successful teams think ahead. Successful teams communicate. I think is a good way to look at these 5 things. Ethan is more than my podcast partner. He's my son. And like every baseball parent, my first priority was his development as a player. Every year, we'd start out with a new coach and a new team, making new promises, only to end up playing the same old tournaments with little to no practice in between. You know what I'm talking about. That's why I'm so thankful that we found MD&I Academy. I first met Coach Rick over a decade ago when Ethan was just a kid, and I'll never forget the relief I felt watching his first lesson. I knew right then that no matter what team he played for, my son would have amazing, consistent instruction from someone who cared. Rick has trained baseball and softball players at the select, travel, and even college levels, so I knew that Ethan could continue his excellence through training approach for his whole baseball career. He learned hitting, pitching, catching, fielding, and more all in one place. Most of all, he learned to love the greatest game in the world and how to play it with character and integrity. So if you're wearing yourself out, running all over town to multiple teachers, or worse, you're counting on that new select coach to actually develop your child, you need to check out MD&I Academy today. Go to mdaiacademy.com and contact Coach Rick to learn how you can get all the baseball instruction you need from someone who cares about your favorite player as much as you do at MD&I Academy. So Now we're going to move on to some more interesting things. I would say now we're going to move on to some more interesting things.
More things that are interesting.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. I have a few more scenarios that don't get talked about as much, and I want to kind of look at this. So, first of all, defense against a hit and run. Let's talk about what are the key things to do when you have. First of all, as your defense, you're in the field. How to recognize when you're likely to see a hit and run. First of all.
Well, this goes hand in hand. I've also got something to add to that is talking about positioning when you're in a stealing count. So I was always taught that the person that takes the throw is the opposite handedness of the batter. So if you have a right-handed hitter, you're going to have the second baseman take the throw, and then shortstop takes it on a left-handed hitter. Is there any time that you wouldn't run it like that you can think of?
It depends. If the guy who has the better hands,
right? Yes,
because you don't want that throw to compound. The guy steals the base and then end up going to third base. But who's quicker and who has the better hands?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as stealing, are you? Well, no, I was gonna say, are you more likely to put a hit and run on in the stealing count? But you've mentioned multiple times where you put a hit and run on just to make the guy swing the bat.
Make
so
him
not
swing
necessarily.
Because like the comment, the guy would say, "I didn't like that pitch." I don't care. Swing the bat. You got to protect the runner.
Yes.
But but we talk about getting the ball on the ground for a hit and run. So
got to put the ball
I guess
on the
just
ground.
what do you just being prepared as an infielder and
Practice.
Practice.
Oh, as an infielder.
Yeah, as an infielder, man.
You're knowing that if the ball's hit, fly ball, it's out of your jurisdiction. But and making sure that you get an out.
That's the key.
Get an out.
Yeah. Because if you got a hit and run, use first and second, first and third, or something like that. Let's say we got a man on first base. So the key thing is if it's hit to your glove side, then okay. If your momentum is carrying you to first base, get the out at first base. Because you need one.
You got to get don't keep, now it's first and second, no outs, but get somebody out.
Get somebody out.
But understanding if you're in that what would you do if you're in that situation? You're going to hit the ball on the ground. And so now you put yourself on defense. I got to knock the ball down and make the play.
And then also being prepared for if the ball isn't on the ground, maybe you get a line drive, being mindful of where the runner is, try to double him up.
Double him up, exactly.
But do not rush.
Don't rush.
Take your time, do it
Because
right.
remember, you got the out, line drive. You got the first.
Right.
Yeah.
Also think about, you're more likely to see that. You're more likely to see that hit and run when you have a fast runner. If you got your big power hitter on base, you may not be as likely to see that happening.
You hit and run usually is with a guy doesn't have good speed,
who can't just steal outright.
Right.
Okay.
So do you want to put him in motion and put the ball in play? A guy who's stealing I like the fact that you don't bunt, but pretend you're going to bunt to keep the catcher back.
Yeah, bunt take.
So now you bunt after the guy gets to second base, but he has the speed to steal the base. But if you have a good catcher, it's the same thing. If you have a good catcher, you don't want him to try to straight steal. So you implement the hit and run.
Cool. So then bunt defense and how to take away the bunt. First of all, as you're in the field, when should it go off in your brain? Oh, I'm likely to see a bunt here.
Man, in high school
in the late innings.
Well, in high school we mainly ran a bunt defense just in case because you never knew.
I practiced bunt defense like mug.
It may be boring, but it's effective.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and as a third baseman, I didn't always like standing right up there, but that's just what we had to do.
But the one that the Dodgers did against the Phillies.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
The Phillies are like, they were back in grade school, like, what did happen here? How did the third? We wanted to bunt to third base, but he came in charging. But you got to be able to see. Sometimes that shortstop give you a clue if he takes off too fast. But the key also is having a fast shortstop to be able to do that.
Well, and that one was so boneheaded because Castellanos just didn't run right away. He waited.
But they assumed that it's going to be the regular bunt play.
Yeah.
I got the ball down, and now I'm going to go. But you knowing when you're at second, okay, look and make sure the ball's on the ground and make sure that you have a chance to get that. You do not have to go.
You don't have to go. Exactly. You don't have to go.
So what? And that was what we call a wheel play.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
How often did you like to run the wheel play?
It all depends.
That's like a squeeze.
Sometimes,
a
yeah.
surprise.
Sometimes, depending on who's the runner is and where we at in the game, like they ran that to perfection. Sometimes you might not. You might want to keep the third baseman back in your pitcher covering third base.
And
line.
depends on who's first base.
And
Because
who's the first? Because
I don't like to say this name, but Keith Hernandez would come from first all the way over to third base to make the play.
But he was left-handed, right?
Yeah,
So
but I'm
he
just saying
had
that
to
how
go-
aggressive he is.
Yeah, but I also like what you just mentioned about whether or not you let the pitcher get it. If you're putting on the wheel play and you got your third baseman crashing, the worst thing the pitcher can do is go get in his way.
Right.
Because he's hungry.
No, so if the third baseman's crashing, guess what happens? Third baseman takes the first base side. First baseman stays back.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what
yeah.
you're saying. Okay, so they would cross.
Yeah. So we have different signs
Yeah.
for that.
Is
Yeah.
there ever a time when you would not want to put a wheel play on specifically?
It's
It's a risky play.
Yes, it is a risky play because if it's a bad throw, man, that dude's score.
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy's going to score, man. So, yeah, it all depends.
Sometimes you just want to do the ordinary thing. And
Yes, do the
fundamental way.
basic bunt defense, man. That one worked to perfection, though. The Dodgers,
Right.
that worked to
And then I
perfection.
thought it was
That
interesting
really did.
the way they had Freddie Freeman then circle back around to
Yes.
follow that runner.
Uh-huh.
I like the way that they were
Yeah.
able to keep him involved
The
in the play longer.
Dodgers and the Cardinals are known for the fundamentals. They work on when they were really, really good with Koufax and Drysdale and those guys. They focus on defense, pitching, stealing bases.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. How about the runner on first and third scenario, especially when you're you're in the younger ages? And it was always so frustrating to me as a catcher because you got a runner on first and third, and the coach just says, "Don't throw it, no matter what you do," because and so you're just giving them a steal every time you got somebody
Yeah,
on
it seems
first
like
and
they
third.
just give them
like,
a
is there
second base.
something you can do other than proving you can throw accurately?
At the youth level, just make sure you vary your moves. Throw over the first
Yeah.
base.
That's the only because if you have a catcher that doesn't have the arm strength to throw to second, so it just let him have it, instead of once again throwing it to second base and it goes out into the outfield. Now that the guy from first is at third base,
Yeah.
So limit the damage.
Limited damage.
Especially-
Then you got second and third. Then you, depended on if it's less than one out, then you would bring your infield in, and then
I was gonna say, especially if you've got 2 outs, and then you can
then
worry
you-
about getting the
yeah.
batter
Yeah.
anyway.
Then
Right.
you're gonna looking back go one.
Right.
Yeah, then you can deepen up and
Yes,
just
you
and
can
just
deepen
not
It
worry about
bothers
it so
me.
much.
2 outs, and it's first and third, and they're trying to pick the guy out at first. I say, get the batter.
Just get the
Yeah.
batter. Just work on
Yeah, especially because if you don't nail him and you're given that run up for free there. The other one that we started to implement later was was whichever middle infielder wasn't covering would cut it, and he's
Yes,
watching
that's
the
what
guy
we
at
would
third.
do. We would run that.
But man, you gotta have a catcher that can throw it hard enough to get it to that guy quick enough, and that guy has to be able to get rid of it fast enough to be able to get it home
And the pitcher must know.
get out the
You
way.
gotta get out the way. Yes.
But I played on some teams where we had that play and we weren't equipped to run it, and so it was an option, but very rarely did we ever pick
Yeah.
it.
Sorry, I've seen the pitcher didn't get down; he gets hit in the back.
I've seen that. I've seen that too.
The other one that I think it gets underutilized is snap throw to third.
That's what I was gonna-
Especially
Yes.
if you're gonna let him have second anyway, snap throw to third. But like we've talked about before, don't pump fake it. That's the worst thing
Oh
you
my
could do.
gosh.
But it's up to the catcher or the coach to see how the guy's going back to third. If he's going back to third in foul territory, you have a chance. But he's going back in foul, don't take a chance because you got 2 outs. Now you're going to end up like with the Seattle with the guy. It's a wild pitch. Now you try to make a good throw and throws the ball out in the outfield. There's another run there.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on what the score is and if you can afford the run.
Yeah.
You
You
know.
don't want to try to be
You
the
don't wanna-
hero.
yes.
Do the ordinary things.
Finally, let's see how to stop excessive base stealing. You got 10-year-olds, they're playing, and man, your poor pitcher's just getting run on. Your catcher's trying to keep him from bursting into tears because they're just constantly running. You got that knucklehead kid who's over there doing the bird coming back off of third base. Yeah, he look like Morris Day and
Morris
over
Day,
there.
yeah.
You know, and I'm just. How do you defense against that?
Just throw it back to the pitcher. 'Cause they try to rattle you, and if man, they can't go past the guy in front of him. So just let it go. I mean, it could become a circus out there, but try to stay calm. Throw it back to the pitcher.
That one of the things that drove me nuts as a catcher was my infielders not getting back to the base fast enough. So even if I wanted to back pick, it wasn't an option because I didn't have a fielder there. Yeah. And had I thrown it, it would have just gone into the outfield. So
that comes down to coaching.
Yeah,
and doing it more frequently with your team.
Having your infielders be aware it's a possibility.
Yes.
And if you don't ever practice it, then they're not thinking about that.
Yeah, you're not practicing it, and then you have a guy who hadn't played third before or played that position. He doesn't know his responsibility.
Or what happens, especially third, they get so far away from the bag that they can't put the tag down.
They don't know where to go.
Yeah,
they're behind.
They're
behind the bag, and you got to throw right instead of standing in front. And now it's a not a good throw. You're infield. You should be able to catch it one hop, but being able to catch the ball, stop the ball, stop the ball, keep them from advancing.
Yeah, being willing to think faster than the other team and just. Don't let them rattle you, and you just make that decision quickly is great if you can do it. If you're not confident in your ability to do that, then what George said, just let it go and worry about trying to get the batter.
So Ethan, you're at third. Okay. I mean third baseman, and what's your route from your position? Do you come inside the bag or outside the bag to cover the bag?
You'd want to come outside, wouldn't you?
To me, it's faster to come inside.
Yeah, right.
But you don't want to obstruct with the runner, but just faster to come in.
You're talking about with a runner on third?
Runner on second.
On second.
Yeah, sorry.
So there's two trains of thought. Some guys would straddle, or sometimes if you straddle, then especially depending on if you can read that pitch, and if guy doesn't have a good arm, you can step inside, pick it, and put the
Yeah, my default was always straddle because you don't have a lot of time to take a different route.
Yeah.
So mine was always direct to and straddle because I don't know that you always have enough time. If you can take an angle, that's great because you're coming this way and the ball's coming this way, and if you can get a little more behind it, that keeps you from having to reach if you don't get there in time. But I would think direct is better.
Yeah, direct is better. Like you said, I just visualized if you come around, you have to reach.
Yeah.
And now you're reaching the tag, but you're tagging the guy in the knee or the hip or the thigh, and his feet are on the bag. So
but I thought you were talking about runner on third and trying to receive a throw from the catcher. I'd like to get a little more angle on it to try to be behind that throw rather than going direct at it and trying to reach for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It just, I know that with some of these catchers, they don't know what route to take.
Yeah,
for sure. And the idea of being a really good catcher can lead the fielder rather than throw to where he's at. And I had that problem a couple of times.
Yeah,
because
well, that's what caused the delay. They're not leading the runner. They're waiting for them to get stationary.
And that comes back to PFPs as well.
Yes, you do.
You got to be able to read that timing because if you just throw it to the bag, and he's not there in time, you got to be able so he can catch it on the run and that whole thing too.
Well, and I think there are some things I would offer as hope if you're in a situation like that. First of all, if you're getting run on like crazy, and you know that your catcher may need to be in a position where he's going to have to let one fly. If you're playing left field, be mindful that you need to be up behind third base to back that up.
Yes.
He may need to turn and make that snap throw to third base to get that guy to go back to the bag, and if he does, you need to be there in case it goes wrong. So, being mindful of your backup responsibilities when you're in the field.
Yes.
The other thing is, if you're the catcher, when the fielders throw the ball back to you, don't turn your back on the guy on third base to walk back to the mound. Don't take it and then just turn around and turn your back to him.
Pitchers
Yes.
too.
Yeah,
I meant pitchers. I'm sorry.
Well, catchers could turn their back too.
yeah.
I've seen that as well.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
this is after a timeout though, but sometimes maybe there's a throw to the catcher and he would go midway to get it. Then now he throws it back to the pitcher. It's not timeout, so he's walking back. Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah, you turn your back. I've seen this 100 times. You got that guy down halfway down third, and he's like waving at you and going crazy. And somebody throws it back to the pitcher, and he turns around to go to the mound, turns his back on him. He's going to go. Okay, so keep that guy in front of you.
I got a rules question. Any player can call time at any point, right?
Yeah.
So
if I don't hear time, dude, it's still live.
But at the same point, if does the batter have to be, or does the runner have to be on the bag to call time? I'm just saying, if you've got that kid who won't go back to the bag, because I see that all the time, and the catcher, he just takes a few steps, and the batter takes a few steps, and the runner just won't go back. Can you call time to make him go back?
Hey, if you call time,
Right.
the
That's
play
the umpire.
stops.
Right. The umpire is up to him to decide.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, use that if you have to, because I've been in some of those situations where the
So,
kid just
one
won't
of the
go
things I
back to
always
the
tell
bag.
our infielders, man, if anything comes in or whatever, you throw back.
you have the
whatever,
ball,
say
just
time. Yes, time, blue.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
like that. I don't think a lot of kids know that they can do that
The other thing is speed up the delivery to the plate
or slow it down.
or slow it down depending
Yes.
on what the situation is. If your pitcher is coming undone in his head because he's slowed down his process and he's giving that kid time to get in his face, get in his brain and drive him crazy. If you can speed it up and get into a little bit more quick rhythm of just bringing it to the plate, then he can be a little more focused on what's going on at the plate, and that runner's not so much in his head.
Right.
Yeah, and
all the time.
varying that timing. I was bad about
step
that.
off.
I would get
Yes, that's what
I would get in a rhythm and forget about it, and I was so focused on the guy at the plate that I wouldn't pay any attention.
One thing we used to do with our pitchers until they understood that, we used to control that for them. We'll give the catcher a sign, or we'll give the pitcher a sign, let them know when to step off or vary the moves, whatever, until I think at 11 and 12, they start really understanding. 13, they should know that,
And I suppose if all else fails, get your left-handed reliever in there so
Yeah.
he can
Right.
just stare him down.
Right.
But yeah, and catchers, if you're gonna throw, man, throw. Don't do the fake thing. Nobody buys
don't
it.
do
It
that.
doesn't
Right.
accomplish
The only-
anything. All it does is eat up time in the ball game.
The only time I see the fake work is if it's one really hard fake and then a throw that immediately follows.
Right.
Yes.
No one
Right.
buys the double.
No.
That's
No.
ridiculous.
No.
The only time you do that is if you're in a pickle.
Taking your team out.
Yeah, if you're running a pickle, then keep the ball up, and you can
Yeah.
do that. And well, maybe that's another one we need to talk about
No,
is the
you don't
pickle,
wanna-
man. That's a
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a good
You don't
one.
want to
You
fake
don't
it.
want
You want
to
to fake
yeah.
it.
that's one I see so often. When you get the runner in a rundown, not closing the distance.
Make sure you're running back to
Running
the
back
previous
to the-
base.
Yeah.
That too.
That's the key.
If you're gonna concede backwards, not forwards, for sure.
And after you release the ball, go inside. Do not let that runner touch you. Now it's interference or obstruction.
By far, just like how hitting the ball is by far the best way to move a runner, accurate throws are the best way to stop stealing. There's just no way around it. Accurate throws. If you can prove that you can jump to your feet and nail third base on an accurate throw, they will think twice. If you can prove that you can put it on the second baseman where it needs to go, they will think twice. And that's going to be your best shot at stopping stealing is accurate throws.
But you got to have the self-awareness to know whether you can or can't do that.
Skill.
If you
has a skill.
If you can't do it, then don't try.
Right.
And just
glove work.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times my catcher I know doesn't have a good arm. I said, after the pitcher warms up, throw it back to the pitcher. Because don't let him see that you can't throw the second.
That goes back to showing your cards.
Right.
Yes.
Don't reveal it if you don't have to.
reveal.
But like
Yes.
Rick had said, a man on first and third, and the guy at first base is jocking it off. So step off and implement it. Step off and try to pick the guy at third.
Yes.
Don't worry about
Don't
the guy.
worry about the guy there.
Because the guy
Yes.
at third is like
He's more of
not,
a threat.
He's not thinking about it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the other thing is always go to your weakest point. If the guy thinks you're not looking
Or
at
the
him,
double steal.
yeah.
Yeah.
If he thinks you're not looking at him, that's a better candidate for trying to catch him off guard.
And that's the shortest throw that can be made in that situation is pitcher to third.
Talking about embarrassed.
Another thing that happens too is that just thinking, get caught in a rundown, the kid goes back to first. Okay, sometimes kids get a rattle, might not be covering second. No one calls time. Kid gets up and runs to second base. I've seen that happen too many times.
Well, the other one is like the pitcher, the guy, he does it on purpose, the runner. He runs to get in the rundown.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was
So-
about
yes.
to, I was
So
about
you
to mention
step
that.
off
Try to-
and run after
and
him.
run after him.
Don't throw the ball, run after him. But
Yes.
at the same time, watching the guy at third.
But keeping in mind that out is not worth
Right.
just giving him home
Right.
plate. So don't
No.
unless you had 2 outs, in which that's not the time that they would run that play. But yeah, don't fall for it.
Right.
And that comes
Don't
back.
fall
That comes
for it.
back to thinking ahead, knowing that what he might do prepares you to not get out thought by the other team. I guess.
I just said, go ahead, go.
And when you talk about the other thing we've kind of mentioned in passing here is when to throw over to first, try and keep the guy on if you think he's going to steal. Utilize your catcher in being able to help you realize when that's a good time to do that, because the catcher's got a full view of what's going on.
Yeah.
And your pitcher, if he's not left-handed, he might not have that full view of what's going on. But the catcher could give a sign to say, okay, he's
Yes.
excessively
Throw.
off the
Yes.
base.
Right.
That's what
Go
we
get him.
used to
But yeah,
do.
if you're particularly getting beat down by a specific technique that the other team uses, where they're trying to draw your attention one way or the other, then run it yourself in practice and try to beat yourself in practice and figure out a way around it.
Yeah.
Especially knowing you're going to play that team again.
Yeah. That's just one of those things. I know you go through the phases of youth baseball. You've got, the coach pitch where, it's nobody can hit anything and you're just trying to get to the end of the game. And then you get that next stage up where it's like everybody can run, but not everybody can throw. So it's just a steal fest. And then eventually everybody's bodies catch up and then you're back to playing baseball again.
But it's should be all about learning and not winning. And as I said many times before, winning is the byproduct. But if the kids don't learn from it, it goes for naught. So making sure that they learn what you're doing. Because I remember I had a parent said, "Yeah, when are we going to start winning?" So I had to hold my breath and say, "Oh, in time." But it's getting guys to do the right, put them at the correct positions, and doing it over and over and over. "Oh, coach, why are we going to bunt?" "Because I'm the coach."
And watching the game too.
Right.
I mean, gotta watch the
How many
watch the
outs?
game.
I mean, the basic. How many outs?
Yes.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to the communicating. Great teams communicate.
Yes,
and
sir.
great teams think ahead. Level swing. Let it travel. Wait for your pitch. Be aggressive out there. It's no wonder young players get confused at the plate. What if your son or daughter could learn not only how to hit the ball, but also where to hit it, when to hit it there, and why? George Foster has played baseball at the very highest levels. He was the National League MVP when he hit 52 home runs and 149 RBIs in a single season. He led the major leagues in home runs twice and RBIs 3 times. He was a 5-time All-Star, a Silver Slugger, and he helped the Reds win back-to-back World Series. During his 15-year career, George developed a unique approach to hitting that made him one of the greatest hitters of all time, and now your favorite player can learn it too. That's right, baseball legend George Foster is currently accepting new students. Learn the psychology of hitting, situational hitting, hitting for power, bunting, and more. Every team needs players who can hit, and George explains the game in a way that's easy to understand and exciting to learn. So check out GeorgeFosterBaseball.com to learn how you can apply for private lessons with a member of the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. Spots are limited, and the roster will fill up fast, so don't wait. Apply at GeorgeFosterBaseball.com. And I think that hopefully we've given you guys some hope here on some of these situations. If you're a coach coaching little kids, and maybe you're a dad helping out and you're just kind of coaching the team, maybe we've given you some extra strategies to use. If you're somebody who's coached a little bit more, maybe we've reminded you of a few things today, things to go back and oh yeah, hey, let's tackle that this year. And if you're a player, maybe we've helped you realize that there's always something that should be going on in your head and where you are on the field. Everybody's got a place to be and something to do. And when you get to that point where there's always something to do, then playing outfield isn't quite so boring, and you realize that there's a lot that you can be doing to help your team. So hopefully that's been helpful, and we appreciate you joining us this week for our defensive, the end of our defensive series. And next week is going to be our final episode of the season. So we're going to come in with a good dose of silly and nonsense, I have a feeling.
Yes.
But it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So I hope you come back and join us next week. Have a good time and close out the season with us. Thanks so much for being with us. As always, you can catch the podcast on all the places that you hear podcasts, with Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon, and all those places. Also on the Complete Game. Actually, it's CompleteGamePodcast.com, Glovehound.com, GeorgeFosterBaseball.com, and MD&I.Academy.com. So until next week, I'm For All the Fellas saying thanks for joining us on the Complete Game Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the Complete Game Podcast, the show that's all about baseball. New episodes drop each week, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. If you'd like to support the podcast, consider leaving us a 5-star rating, or better yet, drop us a comment or a question and let us know what you think. The Complete Game Podcast is produced and distributed by 2 Creative Digital Marketing. Check us out at 2creativedigital.com. On behalf of Ethan, Coach Rick, and the Silver Slugger George Foster, I'm Greg Dungan saying have a great week, and we'll see you real soon.